Hi everyone, my name is Bokang Tshabalala, a businesswoman, former Miss South Africa, and an autism mom. And welcome to the Mama Movement.
Today's conversation is a side of womanhood we don't often see. It's beyond the titles, beyond the crown, and beyond the public eye. Today we have a guest who has stolen South Africa's heart, not just locally, but internationally. She's a former Miss South Africa, she's a model, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. But I have the privilege of speaking to her as a mother. Welcome, Bokang. Bokang, what an honor to have you here. Thank you and welcome to the Mama Movement.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm so honored to hear and really to share your story with us. It's a privilege. I want to know, what was it like becoming a mother? Was it this instantaneous love that everyone speaks about? Was it overwhelming? What did that transformation feel like for you?
It was absolutely amazing. I think I had one rule, and my rule was my 20s belonged to me. So I was like, I'm definitely not going to have a baby when I turn 20. The first baby I'm going to have is when I turn 30. And that's exactly how I did it. At 29, I fell pregnant. And then at 30, the baby arrived. And I had planned for this. I had waited for it patiently, right? And so it was beautiful. It was amazing. The pregnancy was absolutely amazing. First time experience. And then this little beautiful human being arrived and literally changed my life in so many ways. Yeah.
I know that feeling. You look at them and you see your whole world in them.
Yeah. And I think that's how you realize then why your parents moved mountains for you. All of a sudden it made sense, because I never ever understood what it means to be a mom and to love a child. But that type of love, it's incredible. Yeah.
Unexplainable.
Yeah.
You have been in the public eye for such a long time. And for me personally, the experience just not being in the public eye has been overwhelming, being a mom.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you, sharing that with the public, being a mom, especially with your son, having that open diagnosis? The stigmatization. And you've changed so much of that. So what has that been like for you?
I mean, it's some people would say it's courageous. For me, it's not. I think for me, it was a matter of, I have gone through this journey with my son, and there's an autism diagnosis, and I have walked the journey. I know how hard it was. I know how difficult it was. And if I don't speak up, it's almost like a conviction. I knew that I fully understood the mission behind it. And I realized that God put me through what I went through so I can help other people. There's absolutely no way that I think it was random. I think I look at my life and all the charity work I've been doing for years and years, and I think God just wanted it to shift and say, focus on helping moms. And there's so many families out there who actually need assistance, guidance, but also hope. And so for me, speaking up, with regards to autism, I just knew I had to. It wasn't easy. I remember the first time I had to do it, my son was starting grade 1. And what a moment, because there had been a time where I wasn't even sure if my child was going to make it to school because he couldn't speak, around the ages of 3, 4. And so actually, I mustn't say speak, he just couldn't really make a conversation. He would listen to music or a song 2-3 times, and he could repeat it from beginning to end. He could watch a show on multiple occasions, and he would know how to say everywhere from beginning to end, but he just couldn't make a conversation with us. So the emotions that I went through, absolutely excruciating. I still say to this day, yes, I am on the other side, and it's a testimony of some sort, but I really still wouldn't wish it on any new mom, because it's such a hard journey.
I understand that completely. Can you tell me, what I want everyone and any mom watching this is to understand that mom instinct, and we all have it. We've built that. When did you feel something was right?
Sure. I think, my son was very fast with every milestone except speech. And so you can imagine, for somebody like me, I always say one way of getting my attention, really, I think the dude upstairs knew the only way to get my attention was to strip my child of the one thing that I was so good at. Speaking is my thing. Since I was a little child, I always knew I was going to speak. So you can imagine the type of conversations I couldn't wait to have with
I can see that. I'm loving this.
and so it was, sure, even before he was 2, I could see that he's different. There is something different. I could feel it in my spirit. You know, it's I don't know how to explain it, but I could just feel it in my spirit that something is really wrong or not going the way it should. But what I always say is the moment I realized that this is happening, I took a stance and I was like, I'm going to find out what's happening with my child. My child is not speaking. I did my research, and back then there wasn't much information as well. So I literally called whoever it is I could, and I did my research, and I found out there's something called a speech therapist. I was like, what? What is a speech therapist? There's somebody who helps people to speak. What is that? You know? And then I found out about OT, and I did it immediately without even thinking twice. I think I tried my level best to move mountains to make sure that my child gets all the resources that were necessary.
Incredible. Hearing you speak, and something in you just inspires me, and I want to share that with so many moms because autism has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I think there's so little about it that we are exposed to, and there's so much we can change about it, and that's what you are actively doing. And we are so grateful that you're doing that in a community and coming from a doctor where we are taught so little about it.
Yeah.
We need people like you in the world to do this.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Thank you. I mean, we've just opened a center, Always to Awesome Center. Always to is my son. And the center is literally just providing services, the type of services that we were able to give our child. We're now giving it to communities, or, you know, obviously children of parents who cannot afford. Because I say there is an 11-year-old out there, there's a mother out there who gave birth the same day I probably did. Their child probably had the same complications or issues or challenges. And unfortunately for them, they don't have the resources. So this center is literally just given that. Even the psychological support to parents. You know, we have therapists there, we have social workers there supporting parents, because I don't think people talk enough about the toll it takes on you as a parent. You know, I look back and I'm like, how did I survive those years? How did I survive knowing at this particular time I must take my child from here? It's OT, it's speech, it's this, it's that. I actually think I operated on autopilot. And I think there was a moment where I just burst into tears because I thought of how far I had come as a parent. Now the focus being on a parent. And I just realized how tough it was, and how, unfortunately for me, I didn't have the luxury to even sit and feel sorry for myself, because I was more concerned about what am I going to do for my child? How am I going to get my child in the right environment? What mountains or how many people do I need to punch in the face to make sure my son is in the right space? Yeah.
I can tell you the definition of what you just described. It's being a mom.
It's being a mom.
You're superhuman. You're superhuman, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
I think you did touch on it, but a lot of parents that I've spoken to that are in this journey, the emotional trauma that you go through, and the lack of understanding, and I feel like the support around you, it's not the same as what you're experiencing. How did you deal with that? Did you ever have anxiety, burnout, and how do you cope?
I think I had one anxiety attack. And I remember I was in the kitchen and my son was trying to explain something, but the words were just not coming out, and he was so frustrated. And I think it just killed my spirit to see him like that, because I knew he wants to say something. Something has made him upset and he really just wants to express himself and he can't. And that was the first time I ever got an anxiety attack in my life. First and last time, really. And I mean, later on as well, you know, I was blessed enough. Like I'm saying, I have no idea how I survived it, but I know that dealing with a lot of parents of children who are on the spectrum, are on antidepressants, they're just not coping. It is really, really hard. But thank God, I have an amazing husband who loves his child, who's willing to move mountains as well. And so with that type of support, but also my parents, they have been incredible in the journey. You know, my sisters, my nieces and nephews, having to explain it to them as well, because I think that's also important. The only way to take the stigma is explaining to people around you, people that you love, this is what's happening with my child. and it means this and this. And I mean, as I was learning, I was sharing with them. As I was learning, I was sharing with them. And it worked. I mean, at some point, you know, my nieces asked, why doesn't always to speak to us when we're playing with them? And we had to explain in the best way we possibly could for children to understand. And because we did explain, ever since then, they knew how to relate to him, you know, because they were still quite young. But then they knew how to relate. They knew how to try and get him to understand what it is they were trying to do. Communication is done in so many different ways. It's not always verbal. And I had to watch these little twin girls figure ways on how to communicate with my child, because they fully understood verbally wasn't going to be the only way that they could try and communicate with him. So I think it's important, but also just part of taking away the stigma is also not just educating family and people around you, but I mean, it's also educating the communities. You know, people are very impatient and kind to people with disabilities or people that are different. And so that's one of the things we do as a foundation. We go into communities and we educate people and tell them what autism is, and literally try and advise and encourage them to show a little bit of compassion as well. I think the biggest worry for a parent when you have a child who is different is, should anything happen to me, will people be kind or will my child survive? And I say, yeah, you worry harder and deeper than most moms out there who have you know, neurotypical children. When you have a neurodivergent child, it's just something else. The worry is on a different level.
Your wish is to live one day after.
I know, you want to live forever just for them, but unfortunately that's not how life works. And so the most important thing is trying to help them the best way we possibly can, that they can survive in this world when we're not here anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I think, you know, it really is a special place. I've spoken to you about this privately, and what you've said is everything that I've spoken to other people about, and just having you share that is amazing. Yeah. I want you to tell me, to all the moms out there, we are aware of how prevalent autism is becoming. To the moms out there that are getting these diagnoses, what do you have to say to them? Sure.
What I'm going to say to them is, it's hard to accept. And I always say I give moms and parents of children on the spectrum so much grace, because I know how difficult that is to accept.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is, you are not going to be a good parent to that child until you accept that they are on the spectrum, they've got autism, or they're struggling with certain developmental issues. And so for me, I would say the first step is try and learn to accept, but also importantly, grief. You know, I always talk about grieving, and people are always saying, but why would you grieve a child that has not died? You know, I say you have to grieve the idea of what you have in comparison to what you expected God to give you.
You're reading my mind and my questions.
and so for me, I think that's what it is. Accept your child, grieve the idea of what you had. And the grief is continuous. You don't grieve once. You will grieve forever and ever, every single year, when you see he's still struggling with a particular thing, in comparison, obviously, to where other kids are. The grief is continuous. But the beautiful thing about it is, when you've accepted, you become a better version of yourself as a parent for this child. You're not anxious anymore. You understand them a little bit better, and you're able to literally give them the love, patience they deserve. Yeah.
You stole my question, by the way. I was going to ask you how. You have to grieve. I feel that when something's so overwhelming and you expect this little human to be everything, you want them to be greatness in this world, and something that comes along that I'm sure you didn't imagine to happen.
No, I wasn't prepared.
How do you tackle that?
And I think for me, it was just more spiritual than anything. I think I kept asking God why. I spent so much time, and I was so angry. I was genuinely so angry, because I thought to myself, I'm such an amazing, good person. Why would you do this to us? You know, my husband and I do so much good work. We do this, like, we literally try our level best to be good people in society. And I thought to myself, why would you do this to my child? Why would you, you know? Because it's hard. And the truth of the matter is, you know, I said the biggest and hardest lesson that I had to learn very early on, being a mom, is fully understanding that they don't belong to us. They do not belong to us. They are their own people on their own journey with their own God. And unfortunately for us, we think because we bring these human beings into this life, we're going to have all the answers. The truth of the matter is we do not have
We don't.
all the answers. None whatsoever.
Definitely not for
So
parenting
for
either.
me, that was the hardest lesson to learn. And I had to learn it very early on to understand that my child is his own person. The best thing that I can do is try and push and move mountains to make sure he's okay. The best thing I can do is love him as much as I can, be the best support system, because the world is going to give a few punches to him. The world is going to try and eat him alive. So I have to make sure that I've instilled so much confidence, self-esteem, and just knowing that mommy and daddy are there and they're always going to be there. And yeah, so I think when it comes to, I wasn't prepared for it. I actually thought motherhood means, oh, great, I'm the mom. I have all the answers. I can fix everything. So I learned that I can't fix everything. And it's actually not my job to fix everything. It's my job to just help this beautiful soul become who and what he's meant to be in this world.
I always say that nurturing is the most powerful work we do, and that's what we're
That
made
is
to
exactly
do.
what it is. Yeah.
I just want to highlight one beautiful thing. You have spoken about your foundation and how people can access that. But can you explain to moms out there that are just scavenging for answers? Where can they go? What can they do if they are walking the same journey as you?
Sure. I think with regards to our foundation, they can go on our social media pages. It's Bokang Foundation. And they can call, for example, maybe 07244895544. If they have any questions, there'll be somebody who can assist them. But I mean, even on the page, all the information is there: email, address, number, and come through. It's a center, and we're just really there to give you the best support ever. And what I love is we're not just focusing on creating awareness, but we're giving the services, that most people, specialists are quite expensive. And so we're giving these free services. We're giving like proper support to like parents and caregivers. We're trying our level best to, assist where we can. And I mean, one of the things that is so unfair, even in our country as is, it's even hard for these kids to get access even to government schools, forget private schools. Because the moment you take your child to a government school, they still want an OT assessment, a speech assessment, and probably a proper diagnosis from a psychiatrist or neurodevelopmental doctor. Where on earth are you going to get that? How much is that? And so we provide that. We'll do the screening. We give all of that. So should you want to take your child somewhere, we can obviously provide that. It's just about, the whole foundation and actually the center itself, the OA to Awesome Center. It's just trying to create a legacy of hope, for so many children who are like my kid. And I have seen, I always talk about how, I hope other children as well find their voice, because my son has found his voice. I think it must have been the hardest thing ever to just watch my child not be able to speak. But I mean, at 11 years old, we can't get him to stop speaking. He drives us crazy. We actually have to say, no, puppy, it's really enough.
Mommy, need a break now.
But it's the life I prayed for, not just for myself, but for him as well. And, children are resilient.
They are.
They are so resilient.
They adapt to anything and everything. I think we are the problem, actually.
We are always the problem. They have this thing inside of them that makes them believe they can do anything and everything. And I have watched it and I've seen it in my son over the years. I mean, my little girl as well, one of the best little sisters for him. I don't know if he thinks that because they fight sometimes. But just raising children and watching them become who and what they're meant to be in this world, it's absolutely incredible.
It's a bit of magic that you get.
No, it's absolutely incredible.
I think as adults, we lose that along the way. And this is our reminder of how beautiful the world can be.
Yeah, but also just how we are supposed to really live.
Yes,
because for some odd reason, the older you get, the more society and the world tells you can't. And when you're raising kids, they are such a beautiful, I always say my daughter, when I found out I'm pregnant with a girl, I knew it was going to be a girl. I literally went and bought pink fins when I was 2 months pregnant. My husband was like, love, why? I'm like, listen, it's a girl. If it's not, God better change his mind now and give me that girl. I'm ready for a girl.
I don't want.
And when I got her, before I even got her, when it was confirmed that it's a girl, the work that I had to do on myself, because my biggest thing was, who is she going to grow up watching? Like that little girl reminded me to fix my crown and make sure it's sitting on my head so well. She reminded me to go after everything I've ever wanted because I knew I'm going to raise a girl and I want her to know that she can do anything and be anything she wants to be in this world. And she's just as amazing as boys as well. And yeah, and so she gave me such a wake-up call. Yeah.
Can relate to that. I look at my daughter. She was the inspiration for this. I wanted a world where she could look back at mama and everyone amazing that I invited on here and the conversations that we had and how we're changing things for our generations, because that's what we meant to do. Meant to be a pillar for them.
And just to be reminded that her voice matters and she can always create platforms and the right people are always savers. Some people it might be designed that way, that somebody's meant to have an audience of millions. If you are meant to have an audience of thousands, just know the right people will hear whatever it is that you need to put out there in the world. So yeah, so she should always know, daughters and sons should always know that their voice matters.
Just one last thing.
Okay.
Maybe not. I want you to, when your daughter and your son look back at this moment, what do you want to say to them? What do you want them to know?
Sure. That's a tough one. So they have little affirmations that they have to say, and I know it sounds so childish, but it's literally I'm beautiful for my daughter. My son is like, I'm handsome. I'm beautiful, handsome. I'm special. I'm important. I'm kind. I'm more than enough. I'm worthy, and I can do anything I put my mind to. And they have to say to me every single night before they sleep. And I genuinely hope that they hold on to that. It sounds so fickle right now, but I hope when they're older and they're trying to achieve anything they want to achieve in this world, they are constantly reminded that they're enough, they're worthy, and they're deserving of anything they put their mind to, and that they actually can. You know, when I named our son Owetu, it was just a beautiful way of me trying to remind him of who he is and whose he is. Just a thing of, look at what daddy has achieved, look at what mommy has achieved. That means you can achieve anything you want. You are ours. You should know who you come from. And so so I hope they constantly carry that with them, because the world will try and bring them down. The world will try and make them think they're not good enough. Society will tell them they're not deserving of anything great. But I hope they hold on to that. I hope in a moment where it's difficult, even if they're in their 30s, they remember that mommy taught me this particular thing. Because I know I've held on to some of the things my parents have said to me when I was a little girl. And funny enough, they have carried me through even now that I'm getting into my 40s.
Amazing. I think divinity is something so important. And I really and truly believe that your children are so cherished and so blessed to have a mom like you. And I've learned so much from you. I'm definitely going to steal the information and affirmations from you and do that with my daughter. That's a beautiful way to end the evening, and especially connect with your mom. And that's so important.
Let it be the last thing they remember when they go to sleep, because it will be the first thing they remember when they wake up.
That's so true. I've learned so much with you. I really, really,
thank you. Thank you. And good luck with your little one.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Come meet her. Teach her some of your feistiness. Maybe she'll teach us.
No, they will. They will. I always make a joke and say, because she is so feisty. But I love it. I love it for her. I love it for her because I believe the world is not always kind to women. So we cannot raise timid, shy girls.
We can.
They need to be feisty. They need to be outspoken. They need to know how to stand up for what they believe in.
Every morning I tell my daughter, her name's Angeline, and say, what are we today? And she goes, brave, mama.
Exactly.
Yes, we're brave.
But that, and we take for granted, you may never take for granted what you're instilling in her, because she's going to go through life knowing that I need to be brave. I need to be brave.
I'm going to be phoning you. Bokang. She's giving me the attitude. What do I do?
I'm like, good luck. I'm getting mine as well.
I love that. Is there any last message you'd like to share about what you've learned?
Yeah.
Something you wish someone had told you in the beginning that you know now?
Sure, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Like, can I break it into two?
Yes, of course.
I wish somebody had told me when I was going through the most with regards to my journey with my son that it's going to be okay, that it's all going to work out, and that this journey is going to be one of the biggest testimonies of your life. You think God has done great things with your life. Guess what? This is going to be actually something so incredible. This is going to be one of the biggest miracles where your child doesn't speak and he ends up speaking. But most importantly, this little human being that you feel like, oh my goodness, what do I need to do? God, this is stressing, is going to be a beacon of hope. So many families out there. If you told me that his purpose, in terms of why God brought him into my life and what his own personal purpose is, I wouldn't have believed it then. So I do wish somebody had told me then while I was stressing that it's all going to work out, because it has. And I think the one thing that I would want people to know, especially autism parents, is, I always say I'm sending love to them because I know how tough it is. And I hope they continue to have the strength. And most importantly, I hope they never give up fighting, because we do have to fight for our kids. And I think more than anything, there was a time in my life, I remember one day reading my old journal, and one of the things I was saying is, I don't think I'm good enough or equipped enough to be this child's mom. And I know there's a lot of parents who are probably thinking that or feeling that. And I hope today they are reminded that they are. They are exactly what their children need. They have exactly what's needed for that child to grow up in a loving environment. And I hope they continue to have courage. And I think more than anything, fight for your kids. Fight for your kids. Fight for your kids to be in the good environments. Fight for your kids. Tell off people who are not being kind to your kids. I'm not about that. You're not going to come and say,
we are their protectors.
Let me tell you, tell people off.
I can see.
Like, I'm already imagining it. Tell people off, protect that child with all you have and everything you've got. And just know you are good enough. You are good enough as a mom, and you are good enough as a dad. And that child is good enough as they are. And so I'm just sending my love to all the families, because I do know how tough it is.
Thank you. You give me goosebumps. You're amazing. You're incredible. You're an inspiration to so many moms. And I think anyone, not just moms that are dealing with autism, but any mom watching you speak and how I can see the love pouring from your eyes, it will make a huge difference.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of the Mama movement.
Inviting me to the Mama movement.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bokang.